All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to week 3 of the Put You On Playbook. I'm Steve, and today's episode is going to be on how I broke into the music industry and what it took for me to eventually create a leading music curation platform.
What's up, Steve?
Okay, so I've never really told exactly my story on what I went through, the steps that I took, how I started, how I even got into music, and how it led to me building Put You On. And that's what today's episode is for. So first thing I'm going to say is everybody wants to work in music, right? It is highly competitive. Music is the backbone of our culture. It's a very popular industry, and it's an industry that is heavily dependent on who you know. And so I'm going to kind of break down who I met, what I kind of created for myself, how I kept going, and how early I was trying to get into something like music. So first I want to kind of go back and lay the foundation of the story, and it's how I even got into music. So in high school, I've talked about this previously, but in high school, I was obsessed with like burning CDs, right? I was obsessed with finding music on blogs, like goodmusikalday.com, This Song Is Sick, Ear Milk, like Dancing Astronaut, like these music blogs were where I spent most of my time on the internet, right? And through that process of me finding songs, downloading them, ripping them, burning them onto CDs, whether it was FrostWire or LimeWire or just the blog itself, like Hot New Hip Hop before it became like a full media company, right? When I was messing around on these blogs, I come across a website that allowed you to make mashups. And at the time, I didn't really know what a mashup was, right? But essentially, it had acapellas and it had instrumentals on the website. And from this experience, I remember it super randomly. There was this rap group in Seattle called the Blue Scholars, and they had this competition on this website to make a mashup of their recent single. And I was like, what is a mashup? And so I started toying around with the acapellas and the instrumentals. And this is also around the same time that my family got their first Mac, which came with GarageBand, right? And GarageBand was like the original like loop built in and installed. And so that was kind of like my first taste of like music production. And it came to the point where I was creating mashups almost daily of any like hip hop acapella over an instrumental of anything random, like Beethoven, like flips and things like that. It was super random. I was posting them on SoundCloud. So this is like the early SoundCloud days, especially for me. This was like 2009, my freshman year in high school. And so I even downloaded Ableton, but I couldn't figure out Ableton. So I actually quit. I actually gave up. It was too hard for me. But still, this process laid the foundation of me mixing songs together, like putting two songs together, and then the love of like creating a song and putting it out and like showing people. I went by SW remixes back in the day. And this kind of laid the foundation of me like not only like experimenting with music, but it also showed me that me showing people something they had never heard before, a mashup, was really cool to me. It was a bit, I thought it was like the coolest thing to show somebody something they had never heard of. And that also trickled down to what I was doing on the music blogs in showing people songs they had never heard of, right? My favorite thing ever to do was to hear somebody ask, what artist is this? Or what song is this? Like I never heard this, because back in the day, especially at this time before really streaming picked up, the radio was where we got most of our music. So we were kind of used to hearing the same songs over and over and over again. So when I showed somebody a new song, like an underground song, that to me was cool, right? So that really laid the groundwork to eventually what got me into making playlists. But even so, just into music, and more than just being a passive listener of music, was like all of these things that were happening early in my high school career. And then what it eventually did was plant this seed in me that would make me want to start DJing, mixing songs as a DJ, right? Because I was mashing two songs up, and DJing essentially is mashing two songs up at the tail end or the start end of a song. But the funny thing is, this is like early high school, middle of high school, end of high school, right? I still had never DJ'd, and I actually wouldn't start DJing or even like know how to mix until my freshman year of college. So my entire high school career, I had never DJ'd ever before. I never mixed it. My friends didn't have any decks, didn't have a turntable. I didn't even know how the two things worked. When I came to college, This is when I really started to get the itch for it because my first job in college was at a restaurant slash nightclub called Sandbar in Santa Barbara. And if anybody's ever been to Santa Barbara, it's a little bit of a college bar. And the nightclub hours, I was a security guard. So I was in the nightclub during the nightclub hours. And what would happen is I would be working every single weekend and hearing the DJs mix songs. And for me, right, making these mashups, my brain was always like, ooh, these songs go good together. Ooh, these songs are fire. So I would like write in my phone app two songs that were working well together, right? So I was almost like preparing myself to DJ without knowing how to. And I was always just like, damn, watching the DJs at nighttime, like, damn, like I want to be that guy. I want to DJ. So eventually I saved up some money, a lot of money back then, $80. I think it was $80. I bought my first mixer ever. It was the Newmark DJ to go. It was basically like, it would fit on like the edge of my laptop. Like it would fit like right here. And it was tiny. It had two tiny little wheels. It had a play button, a cue button. I'm looking at a picture of it right now. A play button, a cue button, a volume, and then like a crossfader. So this was like, you know, at the time, I guess right now, like you could technically DJ on one of these, but I had no idea how to use a controller other than this. So I taught myself on this thing. So I taught myself how to DJ. It became a little natural to me because of my mashup experience, and that kind of trained my ear, which is a very important thing for DJs, is training your ear as a DJ, because you basically just have to know when to start a song and what songs go well together, right? So those two things, once I learned those pretty quickly, I was kind of ready to be a DJ essentially, but then it all came down to music taste, which I think I had a good taste of music because of me on the music blog days, and that kind of like crafted my ear for music, right? So my fourth year in college, right? So I'd moved into a house with a bunch of guys. I didn't know anybody except for one guy named Mo. And I moved into one of the rooms, and I had a roommate that I had no idea who he was. His name was Jay. And Jay and I would eventually start multiple companies together and try a lot of projects together. But most importantly, he had a clothing brand at the time, and he was looking for a DJ to DJ his brand launch party. And I was like, I can DJ. Let me DJ. And he's like, you can DJ? I was like, yeah, I can DJ. He's like, all right, bring the decks into the living room and show me. So I literally brought out like my decks and my little speakers. Like I think they were computer monitor speakers, like the tiny ones though. And I DJ'd for him, mixed some songs. He's like, all right, yeah, cool. You can DJ the launch party. So we put on this party. It pops off. The fire department came, people on the roof. It was lit. Then we did another party. And so I got used to throwing parties with him. And he came home one night. I'll never forget this. He comes home one night, walks up the stairs. We're in the living room chilling. And he's like, Steve, I'm off an Adderall right now. I have the master plan for us. I have the plan. He takes out all these pieces of paper and he tapes them up on a wall in our living room. And he's like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start an entertainment company in Santa Barbara called The Plug. And this is around the time that we were obsessed with like Drake and Future. And What a Time to Be Alive was a project that Metro Boomin produced. Drake and Future were on. And there was a song called I'm the Plug on that project. And there was also a song called Jumpman. And this inspired us so much that we called our company The Plug, and I called myself Jumpman Steve. I thought that was the sickest name. So I was Jumpman Steve, a new DJ in Santa Barbara. We had this idea for an entertainment company where we were going to throw parties called The Plug, and we were off. So this is where I got my first experience in like DJing and entertainment and putting on shows and talent buying, because we eventually got into the clubs in Santa Barbara. And I just met the owner one night randomly, that girl from my journalism class. She introduced me to the owner of Tonic nightclub in Santa Barbara. His name's Will. And she's like, hey, Steve, and it has this thing called The Plug. They've been DJing these parties in college, like in Isla Vista, which is like the college area of Santa Barbara where UCSB is. He's like, yeah, cool. All right, we're always looking for DJs for college night on Thursdays. Come and DJ, bring some friends. We'll see how it goes. And like, you should do it. And like, you know, if it goes well, you can keep doing it. And I was like, perfect. And again, it pays to know people. I'm telling you, this is like the theme of today, right? It pays to know people. So when I meet him, I tell him my story. I basically come the next Thursday, we come, we bring all our friends, we promote it. We go crazy, right? We pack out college night Thursday. It goes off. We do a great job. And he hands me like $20. And he's like, nice job. come back next week, let's do it again. So that's how we got our residency in Santa Barbara for the plug, and me as Steve, as Jumpman Steve as the DJ. So the talent buying came in because we started this like Throwback Thursday series where we were getting all these fire rappers who were like washed up to come and play at this clubs, right? And like thinking about it now, like yo, you're like you're not playing many shows if you're coming to where we were hosting. We had Too Short, Yin Yang Twins, Ja Rule. Right when Firefest happened, Ja Rule came and performed because he needed money. Like he wasn't getting booked anywhere. We had Ja Rule come, and Ja Rule actually got fucking pissed off at me because he wanted me to play Bodak Yellow by Cardi B, and I didn't have it because I hated the song or something like that. I thought it was trash or whatever. I thought it was lame because it was like super mainstream. He's like, yo, play Bodak Yellow on the mic. And I was like, I don't have it. And his MC was like, he doesn't have it. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, it was crazy. Like, it's so embarrassing. Anyways, so I got my first taste of talent buying at Tonic Nightclub, my like second year there, right? So everything's going well. We're getting rappers in, we're getting artists in, we're having fun, we're throwing these parties. So after a while, I graduate from Santa Barbara City College. We basically know we have to get to LA. Santa Barbara is great, right? It's a great college town. You can do your thing there, but eventually you kind of outgrow Santa Barbara. If you kind of hit a ceiling, there's a little bit of a low ceiling there. And so we knew we had to get to LA. So we were like, all right, we're all going to move to LA. And we're going to try and, find our feet there, right? At the time I was working like a remote marketing job for a real estate company, that did like student housing. I didn't really tell them I was moving to LA. It was a remote job. I thought I could just do it, whatever. So when we moved to LA, I know zero people. I know my childhood best friend, Rico. I know Jay, and I know Vostok. Voss was our photographer at the plug, and he moved to LA and he got an internship at a creative studio. And I remember we were like, oh man, like we always wanted to open our own creative studio in Santa Barbara because there were some cool creative people like that had like brands and stuff and artists, whatever, DJs. But it never really worked out. We didn't have any money. So we ended up talking with Vostok, and Voss was a intern at the studio called Black Space Studios. And these photographers there were shooting like Juice World and Future, like it was crazy. And he was like, hey, we have some talented people in the studio, but nobody wants to like run the studio and like book it out and things like that. Like we need people to run the studio. Do you guys want to do that? And me and Jay are entrepreneurs, right? We had already like tried like 3 or 4 projects, tried and failed. Like we're like entrepreneurs, hungry, right? In LA, don't know anybody. And this is when I found out LA is a beast. Like when I came there, like I'm a DJ and I threw parties, right? Everybody in LA DJs. Everybody throws parties. The difference between them and me, everybody in LA knows each other once they lived here for a while. I knew 0 people. Like I said, I knew 3 people. So I jumped at the opportunity. We jumped at the opportunity. We go into this creative studio and we start running it. And this is kind of where I had to really like learn fast. I basically was in a place where, yeah, I was DJing and I was writing this music blog and I had a website and I was doing like song of the day and all this stuff. And I was like, music brand was like my thing that I was trying to establish. All the content I was taking was all music focused. And I was at this creative studio that had nothing really to do with music other than like artists were coming and taking photos there. So basically I had to sink or swim, and I just taught myself how to like shoot photos and videos and got better at editing. And this laid the groundwork for a lot of the content that I do today, and like my eye for content and my ability to create videos and edit my videos. But at the time I was just doing it out of necessity, right? I was like working this job, this marketing job. I was barely making rent. I'm in LA. It's expensive here. Like I'm new here. Like it was tough. And we weren't like eating off the studio at all. We were just trying to make rent. Like that was the whole struggle. Like we were trying to make rent at the studio, and it was hard. Like, man, like we were grinding, like, fuck, I was working all the time and I was stressed out, and I had to like become a cameraman and like edit things to like make extra side money, and I wasn't like in love with it, or like I didn't think I was that good at it. So I was like stressed out all the time. It was very stressful. But through this process, I met a lot of artists. So when this happened, I was like, damn, I started like realizing LA is where fucking there's so much talent. Like people were coming in and playing their music, taking photos. And I was like, damn, like who is this? Like, oh, it's my music. I was like, oh, what's your artist name? Like, let me check you out. I DJ, like whatever, right? And I met so many cool artists that I basically had the idea from that to create a playlist of people I met in LA who were really talented, had great music, but I had never heard of, and they weren't like put on yet. Like they weren't lit yet. So then I started getting like in my journalism bag. So I started to like keep up on these music blogs, and I have a degree in journalism from Santa Barbara, Ventura College. And so I'm music blogging. I'm starting to playlist. This is like before a playlist curator was a thing. And like I said, through me like throwing up my Instagram story with a swipe up of a song of the day to my playlist, Put You On, or I think it was like song of the day even. I don't even know if it was called Put You On at that time, but eventually it turned into Put You On. And when I was doing so, I kind of was like, all right, I'm getting back into like this music stuff. But again, at the same time, I was still like making ends meet by being an editor and a camera guy and like shooting random events and stuff. So the our lease is ending. Me, Jay, and Voss are meeting together, and we have this conversation where it's like, what do we want to do next? Like, what do we want to do, right? We didn't know if we wanted to move studios, get a smaller one, whatever. I remember these words super clearly. I said, I want to be the playlist guy. When that happened, I started shooting more videos in our studio about like my Spotify recent plays and artists that were on my playlist and things like that, right? And I remember this one Instagram page that I think is gone now. I can't find it anymore, but it was basically an Instagram page of a Spotify playlist from the Netherlands. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. There's a entire Instagram page based on this Spotify playlist. And that's where the light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, wait, like I should do that. And I should start like posting music content and using my playlist as like the backbone. Like it just made so much sense to me right away, where I was like, I should make a cool like playlist brand. So I started getting to work, and I started like making all this content of artists that I found and making cool edits of them and like little graphics and, you know, tell them facts about artists, basically treating the artists like they were on like almost like a record label of mine, but it was a playlist. So I was doing this over and over again, put you on, starting to edit things on Instagram. My journalism kind of skills started poking out here. And this is when the end of our lease was happening. And at the same time as this, I'm getting a little bit back into music, but I realized that I want to be in the music and I want to work in the music industry. So I'm in LA. I've had talent buying experience. I have a playlist now. I've DJed before. Like, what is going to be my in into the music industry? Where do I fit in the music industry? I don't even know what position I could even be in. So I just applied everywhere to like any position, front desk, marketing roles, A&R roles, like basically spraying and praying, right? Tighten up my resume and everything. I remember I applied to like 75 positions in like a month or two, or maybe 3 months. And guess how many interviews I got? 0 interviews. I got 0 interviews, right? So I learned pretty quickly that my resume itself was not going to be the thing that was going to get me a job in music. I was going to have to make a name for myself in music and try and meet people. So this is when the most LA thing happens to me, right? So somewhere along this, in the first year of me in LA, I remember I went to this artist showcase in LA at Live Nation in Beverly Hills. And I remember the Slender Bodies played, and I was invited by a kid in college named Kyle. And him and I were like acquaintances. We weren't exactly even like homies, but we both just moved to LA. So he was like, hey, you're new to LA, so am I. Like, you want to come to this thing that my friends like told me about? It's a showcase in Beverly Hills at Live Nation. I was like, oh, this sounds so sick. Okay, yeah, let's go. So of course I go, right? Every opportunity, especially when you move to a new city, especially like LA, say yes to everything, go everywhere, meet anybody. So I'm there, and we're kind of walking around like too shy to talk to people. Like people there like work at Live Nation and all these agencies. They're all like hanging out together, and I'm just like looking at everybody like, damn, like I want to be these people. And this is like the luckiest thing ever. Kyle was wearing a snakeskin shirt, and this girl walks by in identical matching snakeskin pants. And they were like, oh, whoa, matching. And we were like laughing about it. And then we start talking to them. And these 2 girls, they work at APA, this agency in Beverly Hills, right next to Live Nation. And we talked to them. I told her, yeah, I got a studio. I do like photo stuff, video stuff for artists and content. Hey, if you have any artists, they should come in and get some content at the studio. She's like, oh yeah, cool. I have this artist named Trevor Daniel. He's starting to like pop off right now. He should come in and do some content. So I was like, cool. Book him next week. Comes in the studio, get some photos, does like some acoustic covers of his songs, whatever. Uses the studio. We had like a psych wall. And after that was like my first connection in LA. And Jen, I actually just messaged her on Instagram yesterday because I was looking back on this story, and I was like, hey Jen, like I remember like you were the first person to ever give me a chance in LA. I'll never forget that. And it's important to like keep up with people, right? I think it's important, especially people who have done something for you, because what she did is about 6 months later after that, I'm on LinkedIn doing my whole job thing. And I see that APA is hiring an assistant agent role, basically a mailroom position. And I hit her up. I was like, hey, I know you work at APA. I've been trying to get in the music industry. I've been, doing this, and that. She's like, cool. I'll put in a good word for you. So I get the interview from her. So I can remember that was my first interview I ever got in music in LA, was APA in Beverly Hills for the music department at APA the talent agency. So I go in, I dress up in like my nicest clothes, go in, have an interview. I'm like studying all day, all night for this interview. I'm like trying to know everything about the current like Spotify charts and everything. I was really preparing for this, like really preparing. I go in, have an interview. They call me that night. I get the job. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in the music industry now. I got it. They said, you start in a week. I get my suit, I onboard, I get my benefits, I get my parking spot, everything, right? They call me on Friday. And this is the Friday before my Monday, my first day of the job. And they say, hey, Steve, I know you're supposed to start on Monday, but I have bad news. You can't come in because we're closing the office because of COVID. So COVID-19 was just starting, right? This is like right when things started to shut down, but maybe this will last a month. And if this lasts a month, I want them to know that I'm the best candidate for the mailroom if they bring back less people. I don't know what's going to happen after this. Maybe they're like, yeah, we can only bring in a couple of people now because of COVID. We can only hire this, whatever. I didn't care. I was just like, all right, it's time for me to grind. So this is when I really started grinding on Put You On. So I get to work, right? So I'm like, all right, I can use Put You On in my playlist as a way to keep showing them that I'm progressing somehow. So I would update them the following month, the first of every month, I would write to them, hey, it's Steve. These are the artists that I found this month. I've added them to my playlist. This is the playlist. It's grown 60 followers in the last 12 days. Like I'm giving them stats, right? Oh, I started this Instagram page for it, like yada, yada, yada. So I'm showing them everything. I would get the same message every single time that I emailed them. Oh, Steve, hey, this looks great. Thanks for the hard work. That's awesome. Still status quo. We're still shut down. We'll let you know as soon as we open up. You can come in and start your first day. September 1st, October, November, December, January, right? Every month. And I was growing Put You On at this point. So I was still grinding, right? Oh, I created this TikTok page and I started posting my song recommendations to it, and I'm growing it. I added another playlist. Like all this stuff was happening. And through that practice, I was just scaling Put You On. Like the content itself, I was going viral on TikTok. I kind of found my groove in like reviewing songs and reacting to songs. And I eventually got coffee with the head of a label. So the label's Third Brain. So Third Brain is who I've worked with for a long time. They're awesome. They're an independent label in LA. Michael from Third Brain wants to meet me. And I got connected with him through my friend Christian, whose girlfriend is my girl's best friend, or one of them. She's Swedish. They're both Swedish in LA. So I met Christian through that. Christian knew a guy named Michael, put me in contact with him, blah, blah, blah. So again, it's who you know, right? So I finally get this sit down with this guy who runs his label. Oh, cool. Put You On's really cool. What do you want to do with it? I was like, oh, I really want to be an A&R. Like, I feel like I have like an A&R tool right now. If somebody were an A&R, they can come into my page and my playlist and find artists that were like unsigned and like all this stuff. He's like, oh, cool. That's cool. That's cool. Well, awesome. Like, let's keep in touch. I want to send you some songs. Let me know if you could like post any or like playlist some of these. Just let me know which ones you like. He sends me a batch of songs. And one of the songs in there would be a song that would change my entire life. It was called Matter of Time by Vandalux. I post the song. I text him right back. I was like, yo, this one by Vandalux is fire. Like, I'm going to post this one. I'm going to post it tomorrow. So I make this video and I post it. And I had gone viral before, but this one was different, right? This one really, really went far and wide on the internet. So basically, the series was, I'm a rap fan, but these house songs slap. So my whole thing was like, I was a rap fan, hip hop fan, because when I was DJing and everything for the plug, we were heavily hip hop. So when I was doing this, I made this series, and this series was what like really made my page take off. And this one starts going crazy. It leaks over to Instagram, pages on Instagram, like Puberty's posting me. The Instagram page Rap posted me, like all these millions of follower pages were posting this video of mine. And they were tagging me. So I'm growing on Instagram. I went from like 10,000 to like 30, 40, 50,000 in a couple weeks because it was just going on the internet. People tagging me, sending me, hating on me, whatever. And this is happening. And Third Brain was like, let's have another meeting. Like, this is going crazy right now. The song was spiking 5,000 streams a day. Then it was at 25,000 streams a day. So I spiked it by that much from this video. And they sit me down again, like, all right, Steve, looks like you know what you want, you know how to market a song, you know how to find music, like you should come join our team, and you should be an A&R at Third Brain. So that was where I first got my job at Third Brain, and how I started working with labels. And so after 13 emails, over a year, sending updates to APA, I sent them their final email and I said, hey, thanks to APA for everything. Put You On has scaled to this. I met with a label. They offered me a job and I'm going to take it. And they were understanding of that. Obviously, they probably felt bad for me because I was like so on them every week or every month. But that's how I got right in. So basically, like this was like my dream opportunity because I wanted to be an A&R. I got that job. Third Brain in itself was like super down with letting me keep Put You On separate from the label. They weren't forcing me to post any songs ever. They were just like, yo, as long as you have a healthy platform, and if you like any songs on the platform, like they've always been super cool, and letting me kind of do my thing while I'm building and learning experience and like meeting people on the music side as an A&R. So I signed a couple small artists and definitely learned a whole bunch. Ended up signing Jersey from France, this duo who I was able to make go viral multiple times and everybody loves them. I signed Angry Baby as well. Took his career from 8,000 monthly listeners to 500,000 monthly listeners in less than a year. And then I signed a girl named Sydney with a C. And these three artists would definitely change my life because they were the backbone of letting me split off from Third Brain to create Put You On Music Group, which is a joint venture with Third Brain. So now I'm a partner with Third Brain. And we work really closely together. We have a really, really good rhythm going. And then I signed Jake Shore, who I talked about recently in my Substack. So right now I'm rocking with a couple of artists on my roster, still doing my music curation stuff, still trying to make the biggest music curation platform possible, providing as much value to the music community as possible. But basically, I wanted to make this video because I wanted to show you that, you know, after moving to LA, being forced to switch career paths, right? Like shooting videos and editing videos, something I did not want to do, but everything has led me up to what I'm doing now at Put You On. So all my experiences are now coupled together. And it's helped me with Put You On, right? So, you know, getting 0 job interviews for my first like 75, 80 even applications. Like I was snubbed for my first job, so I thought, at APA. But staying the course, realizing that I had to kind of do it myself, using Put You On as my biggest leverage point in the music industry. And now, guess what? Every single label I applied to that turned me down or didn't even give me a chance are now wanting to work with me and have me work with their artists to help them with content, to help them with playlists. So it's a good feeling, right? When you create something on your own, and you're still able to kind of get into where you're trying to go, but it's never the way you think it's going to happen, right? Like, it's just like, so it just goes to show that like nothing happens the way you think it's going to happen. But if you keep on pushing, you keep on driving, like things will happen. You will meet people, you will meet that somebody. Like it is about who you know and who you meet. So try and meet as many people as possible. That is my biggest advice. Just know as many people as possible. Now my network is huge in LA. And that is what it's all about. And now I'm the playlist guy.
What's up, Steve?
They did put me on.